So it's officially April 16th, 2016, and it's time that we do something. I've been waiting too long to do this. It's time that I get these things under control, darn it. It's time to finally finish this. That's right, little fishies. That's right, little fishies. We're just gonna do to you what should be done. Look at you little fishies, you greedy fishies eating all the fishy food. Don't you just eat all of it before the bacteria rip your skin from your bones. Huh, that's actually a pretty good shot for feeding the fishies. I've been like tossing the fish food in very slowly because I figured that would be a better shot for you guys. But I have to say, dumping it all in there at one time, I think that actually turns out to be a better picture. I definitely have to say it turns out to be a better picture. Now, some of you folks may be wondering, what the hell is Eli talking about? What is Eli talking about with killing his fishies? And what does that have to do with male arrogance? Well, I have been told by a couple of people now that I'm feeding my fish wrong. And I'm feeding them so wrong, my fish will be dead from bacterial, whatever, fish rot by the time I get back. Eli, you're doing it wrong and you're gonna kill those things. Right? And so this is a classic thing in the male world. So anybody watching this who is not a male, you should pay attention to what I am about to talk about. And anybody who is a male, you should pay attention to what I'm talking about. So here's one of the problems in the male world. There's something called male arrogance. Right, and male arrogance goes beyond the normal concept of arrogance in one very big way. And the one very big way is that normally male arrogance, whenever they talk about something being bad, it's apocalyptically bad. If you do that, your life is over, right? And this is actually a fairly effective form of manipulation, so long as the person on the other side doesn't have any experience and doesn't think you're a complete and utter idiot. If they have a little bit of experience, though, unfortunately what happens is that your opinion gets shit-canned, and they just essentially stop talking with you. They stop communicating with you. So what am I talking about here? Oh, look at that. Look at that. All the fish, just so the people talking, just so you know, all the fish food is gone. Actually, what was that? About 3 minutes? Just saying, I'm looking at 2:47 for this entire video, and all the fish food is gone. For those folks saying I'm overfeeding my fish, right? And so basically the thing with the male arrogance is that they talk about these things and then they talk about the consequences in apocalyptic terms, and so that tries to manipulate you into getting you to do whatever it is they think you should be doing, which again, like I say, is very good if the person is naive or ignorant or doesn't know what's going on, but is completely a bad idea if the person does know what is happening, right? So where this comes into play, I think I was just saying this, but I've been feeding the fish for you guys, right? I've been feeding the fish and showing you guys how the fish get fed, and so by feeding the fish, I just throw out a little bit of food at a time. I let them come up and I eat it, basically trying to lengthen out the process. And then at the end, once I get bored of it, I basically throw out all the fish food and then let them go for it. And people have been saying, oh, that's too long. You're giving them too much food. They need to eat that food in 3 minutes. And if they don't eat food in 3 minutes, it's going to cause all these kind of bacterial issues. And by the time I get back from Thailand, all of my fish are going to be dead. And the thing that the people don't realize is basically I'm stringing out this food, basically just so you guys can see it. Again, this is the exact same amount of food that I always feed them. Every time I show you guys feeding the food, this is the amount of food I feed them. And as you can see right here, it took about 3 minutes. And the reason is because I fed it to them all at one time. And so why this is an important thing is, like I say, I've owned this house for 5 years. I talked with the previous owner of the house significantly before we took it over to make sure I understood the fish and the ponds and all that kind of stuff. Been dealing with these fish, again, the first koi, all of that went in 5 years ago, and they have been doing absolutely A-okay. So for me, when I hear people start going on and on in the comments about how I'm screwing everything up, how I'm gonna get algae blooms, how the bacteria are going to kill my fish, It's just one of those things where you just sit there and you're like, really? Really? Is that what you think? Well, let me contemplate that concept a little bit. And so this is something to be thinking about, especially if you're a young male, because you see this a lot in young males. You see this a lot in young males where they talk about in these very apocalyptic terms. And the reason is because the people in their peer group listen to them, right? When you're dealing with 18 and 19-year-olds and all that kind of stuff, and you start talking about this, if you do this, the world will come crashing down, right? People are like, oh no, I don't want the world to come crashing down. And so they go along with it. The problem is as you go on in life, as you go on as a professional, the more you talk in apocalyptic terms, the less likely it is people are going to take you seriously. Even when you actually are true, even when you are honest, even when you're talking about is right, the more you talk about these things in apocalyptic terms, the more you get blown off, the more people just don't really want to hear what you're talking about. And so this is something for you folks to be thinking about, like I say, whenever you go out there, whenever you're dealing with people, is when you're trying to course correct people, the first thing to think about before you go out there and you start correcting people, because everybody wants to correct people anymore, right? That's like the big hobby. The big hobby is telling other people why they're wrong. That is a huge hobby nowadays. Back when I was a kid, we used to collect trains, and we used to play video games, and we used to build models. That was what our hobby was. The hobby nowadays is trying to correct everybody on the planet to show them what's right? Well, the first thing you have to be asking yourself before you correct people is, do you know exactly what's going on? Are you seeing what you believe you're seeing? Right? That's the first thing. Because again, like I say, this is the exact same amount of fish food I always feed them. And as you could see, that was literally all gone in less than 3 minutes. Like, this video was on the 2:47 mark by the time the fish food was gone. So are you seeing what you think you're seeing? The next thing to ask yourself before you go, right, is are there things going on that you don't know about? Right? So again, one of the things with my fish pond is I go and I do my little tests and I do all that kind of stuff, and it's all A-okay. And one of the reasons why it's A-okay is because I've got a really freaking big pond here. I've got a pond here. And remember, this isn't the only pond. It then also filters up to the secondary pond up there. So I've got my filter pond that then drains into this pond. So it's a really big environment. It is a really big environment. And again, as I say, for anybody who hasn't been here when I've talked about it, right in the middle, so right about there, it is actually 4 feet deep in the middle. When I go there, it goes up well over my nipples, right? My nipples are somewhere around the 4 feet mark. So it's actually really deep. So all the way around, it's like 1.5 foot deep all the way around, all the way down to the middle where it goes down to 4 feet deep. So again, it's a really big environment. So extra nutrients and things kind of get absorbed into it. And again, it's got fish in there, it's got tadpoles in there, it's got snails in there, it's got aquatic plants in there, and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the things you have to think about, because a lot of people, again, they go into environments, and this is what I talk about a lot about in the professional world, when people want to correct their bosses. Because again, you want to talk about suicidal, you want to talk about stupidly suicidal, is when you're a noob, or where you're not much better than a noob, and you go in and you start trying to correct your boss. And here's the thing, the boss literally may have been doing the profession longer than you've been alive. So there may be a lot of reasons things are being done the way they are that the boss is completely fine with, and they really don't want to hear it from you, right? As you see that a lot. You get a lot of noobs, they'll come into to business environments and they'll go, this is stupid, and this is stupid, and this is stupid, and this is how we should be doing things. But the issue is those noobs don't understand tax ramifications. They don't understand depreciation of assets. Whether you should lease equipment or buy equipment. They don't grasp how that works. Maintenance contracts that are very expensive. They don't understand how that works. Compliance issues, like whether or not something is the most efficient way to do it, doesn't matter. Does it comply with the laws and regulations? Beyond that, things like boards, right? So the board of directors for a company or an organization, a lot of times the board of directors just kind of make rules, I don't know, because they're bored. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever dealt with a board of directors? Oh my golly. Some of the stupid crap that comes out of their mouth, but here's the deal. The stupid crap that comes out of their mouth is law. You will do it. The board is at the end of the day, the boss of everybody, right? And so you get this noob walking in and starts talking about this is stupid and this is stupid and this is how we should do it and this is how we should do it. And you're like, you don't even understand what's going on. You have no concept of what's happening here, and all you're doing is pissing people off. I've seen this a lot. One of the funny things, like, was the startup world is like, especially in Baltimore City. Baltimore City is screwed up 9 ways to hell, but it was so funny. I was watching the CIO one time for Baltimore City, and it was in front of all these startup people, and all these startup people were talking about how, you know, some startup company or one of these Ruby on Rails developers could go in and they could completely redesign all of the city's information systems, and all of that kind of stuff. And we could do it in 6 months and it wouldn't cost any money, and this is what you should do. This is what you should do. And the CIO of the entire city of Baltimore just looked at these folks and was like, folks, guys, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. There's a lot better ways that we could be doing things. But he was saying, listen, literally the mainframe that we are using for the city, in order to find replacement parts for it, we have to go to eBay, because they haven't built any parts. They haven't manufactured parts for the mainframes that run some of these systems, literally in decades. But he said, but the issue is that in order to get that done, there's all of these compliance, there's all of these regulations, there's all of these hoops that need to be jumped through. So you can scream at me all you want, but really the person that you need to scream at is the mayor and the city council. The mayor and the city council can fix this issue. When they tell me to jump and they give me a budget, I will be more than happy to jump and spend that budget. But until that point, there's nothing I can do. And it's so funny because he's a CIO of the city. It's like, right, you know, I get a budget and I'm told to do something, I can do it. Until then, I can't. So the funny thing is everybody's like screaming at the CIO, and the CIO is like, look, you need to scream at the mayor and you need to scream at the city council. Right? And so that's one of those things to be thinking about, is like whenever you're going to be giving criticism or whatever, is again, are you seeing what you think you're seeing? Right? Because again, like I say, when I throw out a little bit of fish food at a time, it makes it seem like, oh, right, it takes them so long to eat the food. But one, I'm just doing it to draw out for your entertainment pleasure. And then two, do you really know what's going on? Do you really know what's going on? And most of the time what you'll find is no, you don't. Again, I deal with noobs all the time, and it's really funny because they just don't understand a lot of concepts. There's just a lot of concepts out there that they haven't even thought about. It's not even like they thought about it and they came to a stupid opinion. They just didn't even realize that crap existed. And you're like, yes, this is what other people are thinking about, not necessarily what you're thinking about. Because again, too, like one thing that you have to think about with a fish, right? So for me, looking at the fish. So are the fish still around? Ooh, look, there's one of the fish. So anyways, there's the fish. The fish left. Oh, there's a fish, right? So there's these fish. And when we're talking about food and we're talking about the pond, you guys and I talk about the koi. So I talk about the koi, right? I talk about the koi, and I talk about the goldfish. So I talk about the koi a lot, because the koi are the special fish. And then I talk about the goldfish, because the goldfish are kind of the random fish. They're like massive now. There's only 2 left. I put like 80 in the pond, or 100 in the pond a long time ago. Now there's only 2 left, but they're fucking massive, right? But the one fish that I don't talk about, the one type of fish that I don't talk about are the blackfish. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Even when it comes to ponds, we're going there, right? So when we got this, when we got the house and we got the pond, obviously, I was talking to the guy who built the pond, the guy who built the house, and was talking about the pond and how to keep it up and all that kind of stuff. And we're asking about if there were any fish in the pond. We said, so are there any fish at all in the pond? And so the guy said, well, actually, there were fish in the pond. I was like, oh, what's that? And basically, when he made this pond, he actually wanted it to be a fishing pond. So, like, sitting here in the chair, he wanted to be able to, like, cast out a little line and get some dinner. I'm not sure why, because the fish he put in here were kind of, I wouldn't want to eat them. But anyways, so he went out. He literally went out to the local river. He caught, like, 10 fish, and he put the fish in the pond. And he had, I don't know, they're carp or whatever, these little blackfish, right? And so we were talking to him, and I said, "Are there any fish?" And he said, "Well, no, there are not any fish anymore." And we said, "Why is that?" And he said, "Well, we had a really hard winter, the winter before we bought the house. It was the Snowmageddon winter, and the pond froze like feet and feet and feet down. And the issue with ponds is actually not the ponds freezing, especially with ponds like this. It's because they have a rubber lining. The issue is when fish breathe, when the respirations, they give out whatever the hell it is fish give out, CO2 or whatever. And the issue is if you have basically if the pond gets sealed, they end up suffocating. Fucking suck. Talk about a brutal way to go. Can you imagine? You're all cold and hibernating, and then you suffocate while you're cold and hibernating. But basically, they end up suffocating. So what you're supposed to do is there's these little ice melter things you put in your pond, and those ice melter things keep a little like 1 foot diameter hole open in order for those gases to get out. And he didn't have one of those, and he didn't think that winter was going to be that bad. And basically, he said it was a massive, 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 horrible fish kill. Just like all the fish he had in here were dead. So my wife and I, okay, all the fish are dead. And then we come down here and we look around and we look in the pond, and it appears that all the fish are dead. Like you just don't see any fish at all. You look in the pond and there are no fish. And so we go, okay, he told us the fish are dead. We have looked in the pond, there are no fish. So we are going to go out and we are going to get koi and we are going to get goldfish. A pond without any fish for fish without a pond. Right? It was a good theory. It was a good thought, right? So we go out there and we find fish without a pond, and we bring them to our pond without any fish, and we put them in, and we're feeding our fish, and they're happy in their nice little pond, and we're happy because we got these big koi and we got these goldfish for as long as they lasted. They got eaten, and all of that, and it was really good. But then all of a sudden, you start to see like these little... Like there was just this little movement out of the corner of your eye. Like you throw out food and all the pretty fish, all the fish that we cared about, all the chosen fish would go and eat food. But then all of a sudden you see like this movement on the corner of your eye. You're like, what was that? I don't know. It really kind of screwed with you. And then we go along, we're feeding. And then we see like 2 of these little black fish. Like, huh, that's weird. I guess a couple of them did survive. And we see 4 of the little blackfish. Then we see 10 of the little blackfish. Then we see 20 of the little blackfish. Then we see 50 of the little blackfish. Apparently, oh yes, they did survive. They did survive. So we've got lots of these little blackfish. You don't see them a lot because they're very good at hiding. But so when we throw out food, not only am I throwing out food for the chosen fish, the fish that we went out and picked ourselves, the special fish, right? But we're also feeding all the little blackfish running around. Now, one of the reasons, though, I put out enough food, not just for the chosen fish, but for the little blackfish, is because this pond is a massive buffet. This pond is a massive buffet for the wildlife. So if you look back there, and obviously you can see all the trees and everything, and so we have herons and we have all kinds of birds and stuff that come into this area, and guess what this looks like to them? This looks like just one massive, wonderful buffet. So in the fall, and sometimes in the spring, we'll come out, and we'll literally see 2 herons at a time, just going along, having their pick of the buffet. Well, here's the thing what we found. We found it's like once the koi get big enough that the herons don't go after them. But the herons do seem to like the little blackfish. So what I do is I throw out enough food, not only for the special fish, but also for the blackfish to kind of fatten them up. So that when the herons come down, the herons go after all the little blackfish and leave the special fish alone. It really is true. And so you'll come here and you'll see like, you know, a few of these blackfish all like lanced and their guts hanging out. But thankfully the koi are saved. So that's also another reason why I throw out enough food, because you don't see it. Because again, you guys only see what's within the dimensions of this particular picture. So you see all the colorful fish. You don't see the 50 cannon fodder fish. Oh, yes, it is true. It is true. Everything in my life is an allegory for something in the larger world. I tell you folks again and again and again. The microcosm is the macrocosm. The macrocosm is the microcosm. Everything that you look at, how you interact with the smallest part of your life, is how you interact with the rest of the world. Actually, is that right? Anyways, that is the whole thing with the fish and all that kind of stuff that's going on. So, what I would argue with people, if you don't want to be written off as, oh, look, yet another yak-ass giving rather caustic advice when it's not asked for. The two things that I would say, or the couple things that I would say, is basically, again, as I said before, you don't always know what's going on, and you don't always know what you're seeing. And so when you're going to bring up any advice, what I would argue that you should do is you should bring it up in a non-confrontational manner. Eli, I see you are throwing out a lot of fish food, and it seems like the fish are taking a long time to eat it. I have been told the recommendation is that the fish should eat all of the food in 3 minutes or less. Now see, if you say something like that, I can go, oh, well, the fish do normally eat their food faster than what I show you, but I am drawing out the process because it's fucking entertainment, right? Like I say, and the people, like I said, were going out there, oh, the bacterial, hey, if you put out too much food into the water, do you not have a biofilter? Are you worried about the bacterial infection? Or if you put too much out, or I have been told, or I had fish who have died, right? There's ways of presenting information in a way that is not confrontational. There's a way of presenting information in a way that is not egotistical, where it's not, I am right and you're a fucking idiot. God damn, how stupid are you, boy? Right? There's a way of saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. I'm curious, why are you doing it that way? Because I have always been told there's a better way to do it. And so I'm just wondering why it is you do what you do. And if you say things that way, if you present things that way, then there is no confrontation there is no anger there is no ego there. I can say, oh, well, this is why I do it. Or I can say, oh, I hadn't heard that they were supposed to eat the fish food in 3 minutes or less. Can you explain why that is? And you go, oh, well, the reason that I've seen is the fish can get, basically the nutrients can cause bacteria to grow, and they can get sick and all that, and then you could lose your fish, and I don't want to see you lose your fish, and I could go, oh my golly, I don't want to lose my fish either. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't feed them so much. Or again, like I say. But I see that a lot. So, that's one thing to be thinking about. Like, whenever you're going to be correcting anybody's behavior, one, just think about why you feel that you have the right to correct somebody's behavior. Again, like I said, this is like one of those big things with ego. I am right and they should listen. Why? Are you really that smart? Right? So, when you're seeing something, think about it that way, that you don't have the right to correct their behavior. What if when you saw somebody doing something wrong, that you actually took it as something right? What if when you saw somebody doing something wrong, you took it as a different way than you do things, which could possibly be better? And again, it's one of those things like with perspective, and it's one of those things with intention. If I come to communicate with you, and I am coming in the intention to correct you, I am going to have a tone, I am going to have a behavior, I am going to have a way of communicating, again, that is going to be, it's going to be aggressive. It's going to be pushing my viewpoint onto the other person. One of the things you learn about argument is you don't want to get into arguments. Scientifically proven, when people get into arguments, they actually harden their original standpoint. See, there's debate and then there's an argument. So an argument is saying that you are wrong. I say you're wrong and you say I'm wrong. And all that happens in an argument is that we harden our initial positions. I say, I was always told that if I put fish food out for 20 minutes, that was fine. And you say, fish food should only be out for 3 minutes. And then we start arguing back and forth. And then I am actually more devout in my view that it should be 20 minutes. You're more devout in your view it should be 3 minutes, right? So if you go and you're pushing, you actually harden the other person's opinion about what they're doing. Whereas if you go in there, and that's the whole thing with debate is the idea that I don't know the answer, that I am not right, that you have a viewpoint that is different than mine, and at the end of this, I may win or you may win, right? With argument, I want to win. The only way to win is if you come to my side. That's what happens in an argument. In a debate, the only thing that matters is that you come to truth. So that's why you can go back and forth. And so we talk about intention, and we talk about how you communicate with other people. If you go in assuming that you're right, you're going to find that you find a lot of walls, and people harden, and they become very hard against you, and they stop listening to you because they don't want to deal with the crap. Where if you go in and you assume that you don't know everything, you assume that you're wrong, and you communicate with the people about why it is they do what they do, then you can have a dialogue, and then you can even have a debate where at the end of the day you may find out something that you didn't know before. So that would be my thought. Because you see that a lot, like I say, nowadays. The mail. Oh! I think it's getting worse with the whole social networking thing. Just with before, again, when I say the male arrogance, yeah, I was a young man too once. I was young, right? And that's the thing, is like before, you could only like piss off your friends and your parents and your bosses or whatever. But now with this whole social networking thing, you can get on there and you can just comment against everybody in the world and talk about how stupid they are. And you just sit there and like, is that really a good thing? And the reason why this comes up, and you may be thinking, well, Eli, why does it matter? Why? It's social networking, it's YouTube. Who cares if you think I'm an idiot? Who cares if you stop communicating with me? But again, one of the arguments that I would make is everybody separates virtual reality, the internet or whatever, from reality. And I would argue that there is no difference. Again, there is no personal life and business life. There is no virtual reality and reality. There's just reality. There's life. And so one thing, like when you're communicating back and forth, is that you'll find people on the internet will actually help you if they like dealing with you. So like Big Nate 84. I've actually helped Big Nate 84 a couple of times. He wanted to do a podcast with an IT person. I don't normally do collabs. I don't normally do other people's podcasts. I just don't like doing it. I don't see the value in it. I don't think it's useful for me. But he came to me. He asked me to do it, and I did it. You know why? Because I think Big Nate 84 is a good guy. He's been on my channel for a while. He's left a lot of good, thoughtful comments, and therefore, when he came to me, again, it's not virtual reality or reality. It's reality. Oh, okay. I know you. You're a good person. You leave thoughtful comments. You don't piss me the fuck off. Sure, I'll be more than happy to help you. Again, Lewis Ross. I've been dropping his name a lot. It's easy to drop his name because he's got his nice little YouTube channel. But again, he leaves thoughtful comments. We have communication back and forth. It's not virtual reality, it's reality. I'm more than happy to send YouTube people and everybody else his way. This is a valuable thing, right? Whereas again, like I say, if Louis Rossman came onto my videos and he started telling me I am like incredibly stupid because I'm doing X, Y, or Z, I'd be like, wow, great, Louis. That is your opinion. Block. Right? And that's what happens in the real world. That is what happens in the real world. You come striding in. I know. I am awesome. I know what should be done here. And you don't know why everybody ignores you and thinks you're a moron. That's why. If you come in, I'm telling you, if you come into situations and you come into the situations with the assumption that you are right and they are wrong, you will get shut down again and again and again and again and again. So that's my thoughts. I do appreciate that the people are worried about my fish. Again, all snarkiness aside, I do appreciate that the viewers are worried about my fish. I do not want my fish to die. I do not want algae to kill them or anything like that. But I have been dealing with them for a while now. They are trucking along fine. They will be A-okay. They will be good. So no, really, like I say, the only problem, like for disease and all that kind of stuff, we haven't lost any fish. I think maybe we lost one koi. Like out of all the koi, we lost like one koi to like whatever the hell. Sat there floating without its guts hanging out. We lost a number of goldfish, but then again, they're goldfish. But other than that, the only other fish we've lost is snakes. Snakes like fish, snakes and herons and all that kind of stuff. It was funny, like our neighbor over here, right over there, the last person who lived in that house, like literally, there was just this goldfish like laying on his porch one day. He's like, Eli, I've got one of your goldfish. It's like, what do you mean you have one of my goldfish? I was like, oh. That's the thing that pisses you off with like these birds. You're like, come on, that is so ghetto. You come to the buffet, you take out from the buffet, and then you just like drop the food on the ground. Like, what the hell is that? If you're gonna eat my fish, at least eat my fish. Anyways, but no, this pond actually works really well. Like I say, as long as it's not hot, like in August, we have to make sure it gets aerated. And other than that, but other than that, yeah, it just trucks along well. It's good. It's a good little pond. I've been like working on the pond today. I've been like doing so much work. I've been feeling good. It's nice and sunny. It was like 80 degrees today, which was actually absolutely beautiful. But I'm finally getting around to all the projects and all the work that I've been meaning to get to for like years. So I was dealing with like depression. So like when my wife and I set off in the travel trailer a little earlier than this time last year, I was really freaking depressed. And the reason was, my wife had cancer twice. And again, cancer doesn't just go away. There are ongoing things that we have to deal with. Figured out we weren't going to be having kids, had all this work done on the house, which is a complete pain in the ass. Oh my golly, the construction people I had were just infuriating to say, like, expensive as hell and infuriating as hell all at the same time. And so when we left, I was just like done with this house. So there were like all these projects I've been dealing with, like I had meant to do, and then just haven't gotten around to. It's really weird, like even mulching the front. So I had those little flower beds I showed you guys the other day. And simply all you have to do is like once a year, you throw a couple bags of mulch on it. And I hadn't done that in like 2 years. Like I even had the mulch. I literally had 12 bags of mulch just kind of sitting there and rotting because I had bought the mulch. And then I had stared at the mulch. I was like, that mulch needs to go from there to there. And I was like, yes it does. Didn't get around to it. But anyway, I've been doing the nice little projects today, so I have been working on the pond some more. One thing, once we get back, you see all that crap there? We do need to get a skimmer. So a skimmer is it basically put a filter in it and it'll skim off all this crap on the top. Because we do need to get a skimmer. The reason for that, it wouldn't be too bad, except our lawn mowing people, I don't know what's going on. Like, it depends on who's mowing the lawn. It's really weird. So we hire somebody to mow the lawn. And it's like one person who mows the lawn. If it's one person who mows the lawn, there's no grass in the pond at all. The pond looks pristine. The pond looks clear. The pond looks wonderful. And then they have somebody else who mows the grass, and it's like he dumps like an entire bag of like lawn clippings in there. Don't know what it is. So we do need to get a skimmer. Once we get back from Thailand, we need to get a skimmer. Oh, look at that. So this was a snail. That was actually a snail that was in our pond. That's apparently dead now. But we got snails somewhere in there. So we do need to get a skimmer. But this is my little one of my little projects I was working on today. Is I'm trying to create a nice little alcove area for the small fish. Because the cool part is the fish will actually reproduce. But the problem is that since there's no area for the small fish to hide, that they will then eat their own damn young. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to put a nice little nursery type area for the fish. And so I put a lot of stone in here and some block. And again, trying to move these plants over here. Because the thing is, like, I put stone and all that underneath, but this is actually pretty deep. Like, ooh. To give you a hint how deep this is, see, it's about that deep. It goes up to there, right? So underneath here, I put all the stone and stuff. So hopefully all the small fish will be able to go down there and be able to hide from the bigger fish so that they will become bigger and not get eaten. Because it was sad. Like at one point, back when we had all the goldfish and they were reproducing, it was really cool. It was actually really cool until they got eaten. Like there'd be like these little goldfish, like these little teeny goldfish, and they'd like run around in a school. So you'd see like 10 or 15 of these tiny little goldfish like zipping around. And then one day, you didn't see them zipping around anymore. You're like, damn it. So I was working on that today and cleaning things up. Just doing lots of yard work. Again, being a male, there is so much work to do. Got all that cleaned up. I don't know if you guys saw that in the video before. Again, that's where I had all the piles of mulch and stuff. That was just left there. And it is. I mean, that's the hard part with depression. Like when you really get depressed, and like for me, I call it like situational depression. It wasn't like chemical depression. It was just like, the spaghetti monster's been fucking with me. You know, it's like there's a certain point. Like I can deal with the spaghetti monster fucking with me to a degree. And then there's a certain point when it's like, come on, you son of a bitch. Yeah, I know you're the spaghetti monster. I know, you know, but you know, come on, lay off, damn it. So anyways, yeah. So don't feel bad about that. If the spaghetti monster is getting you down, it's okay. Spaghetti monster does it to everybody. You just gotta learn to relax. You gotta figure out some way to get your brain back in the game, and then you can do things. This is amazing. Like in the past couple of days since it's been warm, I have literally done so much work that's been sitting here for like 2 years to do. I'm not even joking, like 2 years. There has just been stuff sitting here that I've needed to do. And I just haven't had I haven't had the willpower to do it. Anyways, did that. Been working on our small pond. So this is a small quote-unquote filter pond up here. So this is basically, as I say, this is our nice little tadpole pond. And so I was working on our little filter system today. So we do have a nice little filter up here. Finally got one of these guys. And cutting all the pipes and everything. It's not as pretty as I want right now, but this stuff, this grass, will actually grow, probably be about that high. So right now it looks kind of ugly as hell, but give it, I don't know, give it another, I don't know, month or two, and it'll be higher, and you won't be able to see all that. But like to give you a hint, like the stupid things that have been just left is, so this pipe that comes out of the ground here, at one point I had to figure something out, and so I had pulled it up, and that's where this line is. But then I had literally left it out of the ground for like 2 years. Like it was just kind of like an inch over the ground for like 2 years. And I swear I'd come out and I would look at it and I'd be like, you know what? I need to just dig the hole and put that back under the ground. It's like, yeah, I do need to do that. For 2.5 years, right? But this is one thing, like I tell you folks, like for mental health and all that. And again, like I don't have any like chemical problem. Again, I have like Aspie, but they don't have a pill for that. They don't have a pill for Aspie. But like I say, like with this, it wasn't like anything like a pill would do. It was just like life just beating the ever-loving snot out of me for a couple of years. And so it is one thing to think about, like with getting your brain in gear, where like once your brain is in gear, it's amazing how much you can do. Like once you can think properly and you're not like stressed all the time, it's amazing how much work you can do relatively quickly. And it's also amazing that if your brain isn't in gear and you can't think straight, how so many simple things would just sit there for years. Again, there are so much work around here that I've been doing, and literally it's just 30-minute jobs. It's like, oh, okay, like that stuff I did today, I cleaned all that up, and that took me like 30 minutes. No big deal. And it had been sitting there for like 2 years. Again, like putting that pipe under the ground. 30 minutes. 2 years, right? There's all this stuff where it's like 30 minutes. But because my brain wasn't right where it needed to be, it was just one of those things, just couldn't get it done, right? So again, one of those thoughts. Get your brain in gear, really. Because that's the one, like you talk about like depression or what. I talked about that on Eli Computer Guy Live channel. Like December of 2014 before we left. I was talking about being depressed and trying to figure out how to deal with it. And that's one thing to tell you guys. Is again, as long as it's not chemical. If it's chemical, go talk to a professional. But like I say, for me, it wasn't chemical. It was just getting the crap kicked out of me for a couple of years. And so going out, we got the travel trailer. We traveled around the country for about 9 months. Got my brain in gear. Once I was able to get my brain back to where it needed to be, I was able to start figuring out what I wanted out of life. And now everything's going along well. Everything's going along good. I say, getting work done and all that kind of stuff. And that's one thing I see a lot of folks don't do, is they just don't, they're not nice to themselves. They don't appreciate themselves. They don't give themselves a little bit of a break. And so they keep beating on themselves day in, day out. And so if you're already stressed, if you're already at your wit's end, if you're already depressed, and then you just continue to beat the shit out of yourself, how does that work? How is that going to work for you? Probably not very good. So anyways, what are some of the things I've been doing today? Did not do the exercise routine today. Because I figured there's a lot of this physical work that I have to do, and we're flying out. We're flying out like 48 hours from now. So I skipped the spinning class. I was gonna do the spinning class, and then woke up this morning like, I've got a lot of this physical work to do, and I got a lot of other work to do. So unfortunately, haven't done that. I'll be curious what happens with my weight and all of that as we travel to Thailand, because Thailand is good food. Oh, Thailand has such good food. So I don't know. It's gonna be like 110 degrees, and we're gonna be walking and exercising and doing a lot of stuff. On the other hand, it's got some really good food. But on the other hand, I'm not drinking beer this time. That was one thing, like whenever I traveled before, like I wouldn't lose a lot of weight because, I'd go out there and burn like 4,000 calories hiking some mountain and then go back and drink a beer by the liter. So I don't know, maybe this time I'll do better with losing weight on travel, since I'll go out there and I'll exercise and then I won't be drinking beer. But I don't know. We shall see. As far as the travel plans and all that go, nothing really new today. My wife went out. She had to get a couple of things, get a couple extra things. The video camera is working well. So, basically just chillaxing until we go. That's about it. So anyways, those are the thoughts for the day. Killing fish. Killing fish. Killing fish. I'm not trying to kill my fish. I'm not killing my fish, actually. But that is the whole thing. Like I said, I think that's why I've been successful in life. Surprisingly successful in life in a lot of different ways. Really, when you think about it. The things you know, and a lot of things you guys don't know. Again, not transparent. But one of the reasons I've been able to be successful, and one of the reasons why people help me to the rate that they do, is because I generally don't assume that I'm right. I rarely assume that I'm right. When you hear me say that I'm right, I'd put a $10,000 bet that I am right? But most of the time, if you see my advice, if you see what I'm actually saying, I don't claim that I'm actually right. And what I find is when you go to people and when you interact with people, and you interact with people from the perspective that they know something that you don't know, and that they most likely are more intelligent than you about something, it's amazing how much easier that conversation goes. It's amazing how many more opportunities you're given. It's amazing how many more resources are offered. Because so many people are used to being attacked day in, day out. And again, not just peons, not just cogs, not just secretaries and warehouse workers, but even CEOs and business leaders and board members and all that kind of stuff. They're constantly being attacked day in, day out. And so if you're the one person that just walks up to them and says, "Hey, you're probably smarter than me. Teach me something." Be like, "Holy crap. Holy crap. I'd love to teach you something. I'd love to give you resources," right? So again, just one of those things to think about. And again, too, if you actually are trying to do something like save the fish, or convince people that you're right. Again, if you go in there and you're not confrontational, if you're non-confrontational from the beginning, they will be more likely to listen to you. Again, if you go in there and you say, "Hey, you probably know what you're doing, and there's probably a reason for what you're doing. I would just like to make the point that what I have always been told is something else. That's something that I can listen to. That's something that keeps the conversation open. You come to me and you say, hey, that's very interesting what you're doing. Now, what I've always been told is X, Y, or Z. Can you explain to me why you do it your way instead of this other way?" And see, that's not confrontational. That's not telling me I'm wrong. That's telling me you know a different way. And if that's the case, then I can look at it, and then I can either say why it is I do what I do, or I can be like, now really, now that's curious. So tell me, what is it, why is it that you do what you do? And where did you learn that from? Oh, well crap, maybe I'm doing it wrong. You know what? Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, right? But you get there, but again, like I say, not treating the other person as if they're a dumbass. So anyways, that's my thought for today. I do have to say I am very appreciative. I'm very appreciative for the three people that have signed up to be patrons. Yay! So I talked about that yesterday. I started a Patreon campaign for Failed Normal because I've talked about I don't believe Failed Normal. I don't know. I'll be curious to see how this goes financially, but it's not quite as easy a business decision as Eli the Computer Guy. Like Eli the Computer Guy was a pretty run-of-the-mill business to run as far as media is concerned, whereas Fail Normal really isn't. There's a lot of things about funding and all that kind of stuff. And so I started a Patreon campaign to try to help all of this out. Because again, the more money I receive, the more money I'm willing to spend on things. And that really matters for Fail Normal. Like with Eli the Computer Guy, I didn't have to do or care about a Patreon campaign because companies are willing to send me like $5,000 widgets. Here's the thing with Fail Normal. Yeah, it's going to be a long time before anybody does that. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, and so the Patreon campaign is useful because I can use the money in order to pay for things, you know, like elephant rides or, you know, wandering and seeing rhinoceros or whatever the hell it is. And so I'm very happy. I'm very happy so far. 3 people have signed up to be patrons, $2 each, so that is $6 I did not have before. Plus the ad revenue is going up. I'm up to like $45 per month. So I'm thinking this is going to be good. So yeah, for all of you guys out there who are supporting me, I'm happy. Thank you very much. And for everybody else who's not supporting me, no worries. Again, it's just a business thing. It's just a business. If I get money, I continue doing it. If I don't get enough money, I stop doing it. Pretty simple. Anyways, golly, it is just so beautiful. That's the thing with this area. That is a thing with this area. Is it's just like when it is nice and warm and sunny, it is just so magnificent. Just look at that. Of course, when it's cold and snowy or icy or whatever, it's just miserable. But anyways, with that, we will call it a day. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.